look, and it even has, whoops, recording in progress. It even has the hood.
Oh, you look like a monk now. You look like a monk with the hood up.
Exactly. Well, it is a monk's robe, so it's kind of unusual, but I thought I'd wear it today ceremoniously as a symbol of renunciation. But I actually got it in the mail last week because I've joined a medieval reenactment troupe. And I didn't see myself as one of the soldiers, like the knights and thing. That didn't really fit with me. But they said, we don't have any monks or anything like that. You could be a monk. And my nickname is Monk. So I thought, all right, I'll be a monk.
Oh,
so
is it?
Yeah, my nickname's Monk. People used to call me that because well, they still do. But my job, I'm a tattoo artist by day, and I have my own little studio, Mad Monk Tattoo, named after Rasputin. And when I first started, it was the most unlikely place to have employment, having come straight from the church, 6 years of service there. But I was offered the job because of my artistic skills. And the guys that were in the shop were heavy drinkers, and they'd smoke a lot of drugs, which I'd come from. I was done with that. I'd run away from all that to find myself. And they couldn't understand my perspective on life. So they just started calling me the monk. And he's like the monk. He doesn't drink. He doesn't smoke. He doesn't do any of that stuff we like to do. And when they started seeing my tattoo work, my artwork, because I was the only one in the shop that could do freehand work, and just straight out of my mind, that one of the boys there used to say, oh, that's mad, he'd say, like it was completely think. So they started calling me the Mad Monk. And so I was the Mad Monk at times and Rasputin at other times, and like all these acronyms would fly around the shop about me. And so I just took it on board and started advertising myself as the Mad Monk. And I had all these people that would come, and I was like, I want to get a tattoo by the Mad Monk. They didn't care what it was. They just wanted me to tattoo. But it was kind of funny. So
I do some work in a monastery, Dave. I do a work at a monastery. Yeah.
Really?
How do you go with that?
Yeah, it's brilliant to me. It's incredible.
Do all the monks turn away when you walk past? And
yeah, it's a Franciscan monastery in Manchester. I'll send you the link. It's a beautiful building, really, really beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it.
You may have seen it. I think you might have seen it on Charmaine's post, Charmaine Berry's post. She posts something about it.
Seen a lot of things that my eyes deceive me about, so I don't know.
And you shaved your head as well, Dave, have you?
Yes, not by choice, perhaps, but by necessity. I got some glue in my hair. I was some silicone in my hair in the back of my head.
How did that happen?
I'm building a motorhome. I'm building a mobile home outside. I've bought a truck, and I'm putting this big kind of like living arrangement on the back of it. And it's quite large, but it leaks in the roof a bit. I had a friend build it, and he said, it's all sealed and it doesn't leak. So I was up there at this leak with a thing of silicone gun, like a big, you pump it and the silicone oozes out the end. And I didn't notice, but a bit fell into my hair at the back of my head. And then when I woke up the next morning, like it was late in the evening, I'm working on it. I had an early night and woke up in the morning, my head was stuck to the pillow. So I had a quick trip to the barber, and she said, well, we can shave that off, she said, but it's soaked in right to your scalp. So I've got, I can't show you, but there's a bit at the back that's like to the skin.
Yeah, I did see it. You're like a real monk. You've actually transitioned into a proper monk with a bald patch like Friar Tuck.
Nomine Patri Spiritus Sancti. Amen.
Not used to seeing you without a beanie, Dave.
Oh, no, right? It's a shock, isn't it? Look, I'll put the hood on. There you go. Is that better? I feel like Obi-Wan Kenobi. I just need a lightsaber.
Yeah.
There you go.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, illusions
Anyway.
and dreams.
Yeah.
Well, so no Tina today.
She's
perhaps
yeah,
sleeping
she had, well, I think she's had a bit of a hard time, and she said she had to go to work, but she was going to be joining a bit later, but whether she will or not, I don't know.
Okay, fair enough. There's a lot of it's going up my bum crack, so I've got to pull the robe out, pardon me. So there's a lot of energy going on at the moment, like just across the board. You've probably noticed a lot of angst and a lot of stuff that seems to be popping up in the dreaming, and the collective consciousness is something that I'm always very aware of when if you watch the news and participate in world affairs, which I don't much, but I remember when 9/11 happened. I was teaching down in Tilba. We had a little meditation group down there, and there was about a dozen of us this day. And then somebody was in the kitchen making the tea, putting the kettle on because we were nearly finished. And they came running into the session room in the middle of our meditation. And they said, quick, quick, everybody has to come and watch the television. There's a thing happening in America. And everybody raced out of the meditation to watch this thing of the two towers coming down. And then it, except for me, but and left wondering what's going on. What does it mean? You know, and of course, I'm always in the realization that nothing I see means anything, although sometimes I still get sucked back into the dream, but not for long generally. But nothing I see means anything. But even in these current times, we've got a war going on in the appearance of things in whatever that country is, Russia, and all sorts of other things on the economic front and things. And the concern in the collective conscious about things tends to put a ripple throughout mind. Like there's a kind of you can feel it. You can feel that everybody's concerned, everybody's anxious. It's like when the World War II, I remember my grandmother telling me stories of how they used to go down into the underground when the bomb sirens were raided. Bomb sirens came on, the air raid sirens came on, they'd all go and seek shelter, and you could sense the energy there. Everybody was nervous and anxious in the tunnel waiting for the danger to pass. And that's a thing that all the time it happens. You know, if you follow world affairs, I'm just going to put this up a bit. If you follow world affairs, you can almost predict it. It's like a peak and then a trough, and a peak and then a trough. There's a whole bunch of crap going on and then it subsides. A whole bunch of another crap going on and then it subsides. But it's the same thing. It's just the nature of consciousness to continually be manifesting some sort of problem or some sort of scenario that the sleeping mind can involve itself in, so that it gets distracted from questioning reality as a whole. And at the moment, there's a lot of that going on. The peak's quite high, I get a sense of. And in spiritual work especially, I've had a few people who I would have said are quite devoted and steadfast in their determination to overcome illusions, who are putting up posts about illusions and things. How do we deal with this? Why is this happening? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, hang on a minute. I always put my finger on my nose. It's like, this is one of my mighty companions. I won't mention any names, but I had one particular fella in specifically who always comments on my posts and likes them and puts up similar posts on his own page, and very reassuring and all this sort of thing, who's now looking at Illuminati and all of that sort of thing and the new order and all. And I'm like, do I write to him? Do I say something, you know, or do I just accept atonement for myself? And it's like, there's been many times where I've realized I can't save anyone else. I can only bring my own mind back to a point of peace and represent that. as a light in the darkness. That's all I can do. Because if I go out there looking to save somebody else and save him, there's still going to be somebody else and somebody else. Because the nature of visual perception, the nature of seeing through the body's eyes, is that it sees the controversy and the division and all of that stuff, which is why the vision of Christ is learning to look beyond all that, look past it to the truth. There is no world. I seem to find myself here, but it's not what reality is. Reality is eternal. Reality is changeless. So there's a point of making a decision that I have in my mind about what I want to see. Do I want to see through the body's eyes and give everything I think I see out there a meaning, even though it's changing up and down all the time and my meaning has to continually adjust and change accordingly? Or do I want to see the changeless beyond the illusion of the form? You know, I'll get the results of my own thinking either way, but that's how I learn. I get the results of my own thinking. So, but you do sometimes have to step back. It's like there were times I stepped out of the healing centre when I was in Byron Bay all those years, and I had to have a day off, even though the mandate there was to attend every session. You had to be at every session, and we had I think it was Mondays we had off, or yeah, Monday, and then church on Sunday was optional if you wanted to go to the actual service, which was the open to the public service. You could go to that, but I never went to those. I used to like to go to the AA one afterwards because I'd come from a very alcohol drinking background. I love me a whiskey. But the energy that's going on at the moment is very drawing, very, what would you call it, inviting. It seems as if it's affecting everybody. It's a global energy. Whereas if you go back 30 years and we didn't have such an incredible array of connections through the internet and everything, you wouldn't know what was going on in Russia, or you might have a news clipping about it somewhere and you wouldn't really hear it. And so the level of involvement in the drama of the illusion of things would be kind of limited to your own proximity, and it wouldn't be so daunting. You know, it wouldn't be so involving, and you wouldn't feel like you were sucked into it. It'd be more like, oh, my cat got out and now she's up a tree, that kind of thing. Not a war in Russia. But as I was talking about yesterday in the meeting we had yesterday, I've just come out of a peak and a trough that I got sucked into by a projection that was placed upon me by someone who I thought was beyond that activity, and it threw me for a six. And yesterday when I'm sitting here, it was quite difficult to actually engage with the Zoom meeting, and things were kind of like stagnant and a bit like I felt my expression was, I don't know if you've ever had a romantic breakup, but you feel like you're not quite ready to get back into the dating game and all of that sort of thing. You feel like there's still damage or heartbreak inside, and you don't want to drag that into the next relationship. That's how I kind of felt yesterday, but today I feel a lot clearer.
That didn't take long.
Hey, oh no! Well, no, I've been sitting in it for the week, basically, like most of the week, about 4 days, and nutting it about. Like I always tell you guys, like, don't adjust, be still and let the miracle happen. But here I am nutting it about in my own head, not taking my own advice. And it's only in hindsight, looking back on it, that I can see how I fell into the trap, if you like, by assuming that everybody understands where I'm at and they're all on the same page with me, which is something I like to assume, because we're all in this together as the Christ, you know, not as these bodies and whatever. But I assumed that this particular person had reached a level where the idea of projecting one's own dissatisfaction with things onto somebody else as an idea of blame or whatever was something they'd gone beyond, but I was wrong about that. And so I had to own it. I had to own the blame and take it upon my shoulders to be blameworthy. And that brought up a big emotional package. So it was good. It was a nice healing and unexpected, but nice. Not nice in the confrontation with it, but nice in the release of it. I'm feeling very much like I'm having a swim in a holy river with the disciples and we're just laughing about or something like that's how it feels in my head. It's like, oh, relaxing, having a day off. It's quite nice. But salvation has a lot of those thick, sticky, kind of ugly confrontations. And it's like nobody likes to make those, but it's good to get them out. Good to be done with it all. So what's going on with you, Anthea? You spoke to Vivian yesterday. She's feeling good.
Just listening to what you're saying there, like I can process things like that, but it's the actual letting go of it that I struggle with. You know, I feel it in my body, you know, and I know that there's stuff that I still haven't let go of because I feel it in my body, whether it's an illusion or not. I can't lie and say I don't feel that angst in my body. I do. How to let that go, I'm still working on.
You want help with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't feel it in your body. You project it onto your body with the mind.
Yeah.
You can't work on it in the body. You have to work on it here, where it comes from. Right? The body doesn't actually feel anything at all. I know if you touch a hot plate, it feels hot and everything else like that, but it's your mind that tells you it feels hot. Your fingers send back a signal to the brain and the brain says, oh, that's hot. And a little voice in your head says, hot, hot, don't touch it, hot. But you say, I burnt my body. You've really burnt up here. This is what's feeling the mind. Only because the mind is confusing itself with the body and therefore must get the results of its thinking, such as putting its hand on the hot plate to verify the confusion. You see that?
Yeah.
It's a constant process of verifying the body. That's what the ego tricks you into doing. Verify the body by putting your hand on the hot plate. It's crazy, but that's what you'll do. You'll make the decision to do that because you don't actually do anything without deciding to do it first. But the decision happens in the mind so quickly and is gone so quickly. You don't realize you chose to do that. It's like people say to me all the time, when I tell them, well, you've made manifest that disease. And they'll say, no, I haven't. Right? It's like, well, yes, you have. You made a choice in the mind to represent your bodily association rather than your heavenly one. And part of the parcel of that representation is sickness, pain, suffering, and death. Don't be surprised when it shows up. Okay. So the idea that I'm feeling it in my body and my body aches, my back hurts or my knee or my whatever it is, all of that is just a misdirected sense of identity. It's like, oh, hang on a minute, I'm not a body. I see that I'm continually trying to verify my body. I'm trying to give it pains. I'm trying to give it suffering so that I can continually verify it. That's part of an old script. That's part of an old story about myself that now I've chosen not to validate anymore. But that doesn't mean that it's not going to keep showing up for a while. Right? There's kind of like a backstory that you have to heal. Right? You can't just ignore it. Right? You have to confront it and look at it. It's like all of a sudden we've been walking away from the light, walking away, then boom, there's a Course in Miracles or some other catalyst for change. And now we have to turn around and go back again. But as we go back, Gemma likes my little finger men. As we go back, we encounter all those bridges we've burnt as ideas and we have to heal them through forgiveness. Right? So just because you pick up A Course in Miracles and it says you're a spirit, not the flesh, that doesn't mean that's where you're at. That just means that's the truth. Now, you've got to do the work to reach it. Does that make sense?
It does. You know, and when you say you've got to do the work to reach it, do you mean as in reading my lessons and studying the course?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. All of that is involved in the work. The work is actually an action of mind called forgiveness. That's the work we're doing. We're forgiving ourselves for the dream we think that we made, right? The world we think we made. All of it. Give up the world and follow me. The whole thing, right? We're forgiving ourselves for that. But the reasonability and the rationale for practicing forgiveness, let's say in the face of a rape or an abuse or a violation of some kind, which you would swear you're never going to forgive, something like that, it needs to be made reasonable why you would want to do that. Otherwise you wouldn't. You'd bury it as a deep-seated hatred and fear and stash it away forever. Right? But all of those deeply buried things have to come up for healing. And the only way you can heal them is by accepting a higher authority on the subject, because your own authority is steeped into condemnation, into judgment. Okay. But a higher authority will tell you, well, look, if there is no world, if this is just a dream that you've put yourself into by the power of God mind, right, then you can take yourself out of it by realizing that it has no effects. But you're not going to understand that until you actually apply it. You have to take the leap of faith first, and then God will catch you. God can't catch you unless you step from the precipice. Right? So the leap of faith is willingness. I'm willing to forgive this person that raped me or that abused me or that cheated on me or that did whatever it is, or the perpetrator of things. I'm willing to forgive myself for all my judgments about that person, because I've manifested them in my dream. I wanted the dream of separation, and it comes with all the lumps and bumps that it has, death included. Rape and abuse and all of those things are just mild versions or milder versions of the ultimate final crescendo, which is a pine box, you know, and then recycling back to rebirth to do it again. So you have to look honestly with open eyes at the nature of things. I've been had all sorts of things done to me in the story of Dave separate from God. But when I realized that I'm the dreamer of my dream, who did those things to me? Did they really occur? Right? Jesus says in the Course, if you go to the later lessons, they have the sections that have it, that I think it's where are we at now, in about close to the 200.
Today's 169 is today's lesson, if you started at the beginning of the year.
Right, but some of those lessons, like they're in blocks of 10 or 20, I forget now, but they're preceded by an idea, which Jesus says, right, read the idea for today and then apply the lessons. And one of those ideas is, what is forgiveness? And in that section, it says, forgiveness recognizes that what you think your brother did to you has not occurred. Right? Now, that's a huge gulf in consciousness to try and span, because the mind is adamant that somebody did something. Adamant. I touch it and it's hot. I kick my toe on a rock, it hurts. It actually happens. It seems to be the way things are. And now you're telling me nothing has occurred? No one's done anything to me? That sounds ridiculous.
It's almost like you're being asked to deny what's happened to you in what we perceive as reality then, and that is difficult.
Right. It's not so much you're being asked to deny it. You're being asked to deny the denial of God, right? You're being asked to deny the denial of God, not in the specificity of things, but in the entirety of the matter, right? Deny the denial, but don't deny that you're in denial. Okay, that's a bit tricky. You'll have to sit with that for a minute, right? Deny the denial, but don't deny you're in denial. Right. So I'm standing here and I'm telling myself the world is an illusion. It's not real, right? But it seems to be my reality for a moment, which I find myself transitioning from through this process to enlightenment. Okay. The world seems to be my home, seems to be my reality. So I'm going to treat it that way. I'm going to treat it completely as if it's real and accept it exactly as I find it. But I'm not going to accord it my reality. I'm going to just sit with it as being the dream and the illusion that it is, and accept that I can change the effects of my thinking by making new choices about it. I can't do anything about the past. I can't go back there and fix it. I can't go back there and manipulate it so that I can be better about myself now. But I can forgive it, which is to let it go in my own mind. I can just simply choose to let it go. It's like drawing a line in the sand and starting again, being reborn from day one. Right? I'm drawing a line in the sand now. My past means nothing. My future, I'm not concerned about. I'm happy to be here with you, present in this holy instant, which is something we actually can share and can join in and can appreciate and can love together for no other reason that that's the choice we've made. We want to love each other. Mm-hmm. Not because you fit into a little box that I tick that says, oh, this person's nice and they've got a good attitude to life. So no, just because beyond everything of all of that stuff, we're travelers on a divine journey that have come together from a place, a state of mind beyond any comprehension. We're all the one family. We've been traveling for billions of years through the stars and galaxies and dimensions. And finally, here we are meeting up in this Zoom room going, hey, I remember you. You're from where I'm from. What the hell? How crazy is all this? Let's forget about all this and go home now. I'm done with this stupid journey. And you're sitting there going, I think I'm done with it too. And then, but maybe there's, you know, like, and that's why we're applying forgiveness. Just in case I think maybe there is still something here in this journey I want. There's not. I'm just happy to have found you guys. It's like, oh, thank God. Kin. You know? My family. My heart, my soul, that's you. Not your bodies, those stinky old smelly things. Mm-hmm. They should come with a bar of soap when you're born, I tell you. I love you. That's all that matters. I love you. I am you. We are one. You can get rocked out of that like at any tick of the clock, though. Anything can suddenly be presented within the dream that's going to shatter your awareness of that oneness and that beautiful sense of connectivity that we have as being the Christ together. And usually it's going to be the closest emotional contacts you have, family and friends and loved ones and all of those things. They generally are our biggest teachers and our greatest opportunities to forgive. But just keep going, like you just keep going along the path. Yeah. Got some reconciliation to do there, Anthea, bit of forgiveness.
Yeah, well, I have, you know, it like, I mean, I've been divorced for years now, but I
oh, you're breaking up. I can't hear
you know, playback. Can you hear me now?
No. Your microphone keeps cutting out.
I'm at my mum's house.
You've been divorced for years now, and then it went.
That's my answer, to stop running over the lines in my head. You know, like very hurtful things, you know, that my husband said to me, like, nobody loves you. Things like that. They still, it's like they've made a scar in my heart.
Right. So you need to learn gratitude for him.
Oh,
your husband. We'll do it together. Are you ready to take the journey? This could be what this Zoom meeting is about. Ready? You have asked your husband before time began to come with you on this cosmic journey all the way to Earth, to play the part of the narcissistic prick or whatever you call him, whatever thing you want to look at him as in your mind, right? He's playing his part perfectly for you, like an actor on a stage, telling you that you're not lovable. Nobody loves you. How could you possibly be worthy of love? All of these, whatever he said, right, that have left that scar on your heart. Because that's what you've asked him to do in the dream and the drama and the play out of what you think being separate from God, which is unconditional love, looks like. Right? In eternity, there is only love. In this world, we can experience all the gamut of the spectrum of things that looks like what love isn't, according to us. But yet it is still an act of love. He played his part perfectly for you because he loves you unconditionally. He will either stick a knife in your heart and kill you because he loves you unconditionally. And you can come back in the next episode and be like, wow, that was amazing. I died from being stabbed, or I died in a car crash, or I died from a heart attack, or whatever. Death is what you want. That's the choice you made. But now we're learning to choose again. Now we're seeing that, hang on a minute, I'm sick and tired of that play. I'm sick and tired of that drama of separation where I feel unloved, unloving, and everybody seems to represent that, because he's only playing out a part that you're projecting into the world of feeling unloved and unlovable.
Yeah, I can accept, like, I get that he's playing the part. My God, he's played it so well.
Of course he has.
But what I don't get is, like, why would I have chosen that? Why would anyone choose such shit things to go through? Oh yes, you know, I want to have cancer, or oh yes, I want to be cheated. Like, why would you even choose that?
Crazy, batshit crazy.
And what will I learn from it?
Tell me something. Do you think you're sane?
No.
Right, now, you've just answered your own question. Why would anyone choose that?
Because they're insane.
Right. Now, stay there for a second. Stay there. They're insane. Who is it? Put your finger on your nose. Ready? Who's insane?
Me.
Right. But when you say you're insane, right, when you say I'm insane, you don't let it permeate.
No,
you just look at it. You just look at it on the surface and then try to keep the deeper realization of that insanity at bay. But this is a journey into fear. This is where we're suddenly sitting here and going, oh my God, I'm in God's nut house. Everything here is crazy. Everything ends in death.
But what's the point of that? That's what I don't understand. What is the point? What
There's
do
no
we learn?
point. There is no point. Think of it like this. Think of eternity as a massive fish tank. It's not, but this is not a great analogy, but it's really hard, right, to think of one. Think of eternity as a giant fish tank. We're all in the fish tank, swimming happily together. No problems. We get fed all the time. The tank is cleaned automatically. And all we have to do is swim around, be happy. No sharks. No one's going to attack us. Nothing, right? All of a sudden, there's a little hole appears in the fish tank, a tiny mad idea. And a bunch of us got sucked out through the hole. And we've had to adapt and morph and change and evolve in order to learn to breathe air, right? But in doing that, we found ourselves in a new reality, a different reality that doesn't resemble in any way, shape or form what it was like in the fish tank. Meanwhile, in the fish tank, they've patched up the hole and everybody else is wondering where we went. And they're looking for us. And Jesus, who's a pretty good detective like Sherlock Holmes, he goes, I'll go and find them. And he appears on the earth and says, ah, there you all are. I see that you've been sucked out of the fish tank into this cosmic dimension. And I've come to remind you that you're not from this world. We're actually from eternity, and you're the spirit, not the flesh. And you're like, what are you talking about? We've been here so long, we don't remember the fish tank. We've been here for billions of years, evolving and adjusting to our new environment. We've forgotten the fish tank. We're used to fighting. We're used to blaming others. We're used to all these ridiculous methods of coping and managing our lives that don't bring us any happiness. And we've become accustomed to the fact that not being happy is what our happiness is.
God.
Right. It's insane.
Well, that analogy makes a lot of sense, because I was probably the stupid fish that said, oh, I wonder what's in that hole.
Right. We all did. We all went, oh, look at that. That wasn't there before. And then sucked out. One after the other. Gemma landed over by the kitchen, and you landed in the living room, and Vivian went into the study where she learned academia. And finally, we've all met up in the toilet. We're all about to jump in and get flushed down the hole back into the water again and resume where we left off, back into the giant fish tank. But it's like none of us wants to jump into the toilet because we watch the water go down there and we're not sure about where it goes.
Yeah, because we already made that mistake.
Right, exactly. It's like, oh, that's reminiscent of the original error. It's like, yes, that's exactly what it is. But we've got to confront it again in our own thinking, because somewhere in our minds we have a memory of the idea where the separation, we think it occurred. It actually never occurred, but we're in a dream of believing that it did. And the dream seems very real because we're using the power of the mind of God to make it. Kick your toe against the rock, it hurts. You got to sit in your insanity for a minute. You got to realize how batshit crazy you are on a deeper level than just cursory examination. It's like, holy fuck, I'm nuts. I'm really Fruit Loop crazy. No wonder no one can love me. No wonder I'm always alone and by myself and everything. It makes sense now. I see it. Right? But it's not your reality. It's not the truth of you. Right? That idea of I'm crazy doesn't come from within the dream. It comes from the schism that occurred before the dream began. The idea of separation into eternity where all is one, a tiny mad idea, right? It occurred at the fish tank. That hole is what crazy is. It's an idea of possibility, an idea of potential, an idea of free will. But I'm living in the results. I'm living in the effects of that idea ever since. So here I am living in the effects of that idea, looking at it, and somebody says, you're crazy, no one can ever love you, you're unlovable, blah, blah, blah. And the other person says, you're wonderful, you're beautiful, you're fantastic. Don't listen to that other person. And somewhere in the middle of it, you've got scars and then you've got bows in your hair. And you don't know which ones, you know, you try to present the bows in your hair and the lovely image of yourself, but deep inside there's this wound. Right? The wound isn't from what people say and things do. The wound's from the original idea. Go into it. You have to go into that wound, into that pain, into that fear, into that darkness. He's done you an incredible service. You said to me, it feels like there's a scar on my heart. Mm-hmm. Right? Literally, this is the way of the heart. Go into the scar. The first cut is the deepest. Cat Stevens, I think, sang that. But like, go into the scar. It's like, go into the wound. It's the wound of Christ. Go into
then
it.
Where do I come out? Then where do like?
No, look what you're doing. I said go into it, and you're looking for assurances.
But I feel like I've just been living in that pain for so many years.
Stop. Look at you. Look what you're doing. Trying to justify things. I told you to go into it, and all you want to do is talk to me about it. other than go into it. You see that? See what you do in your mind? I'm telling you, Anthea, literally your whole way out is to go into the pain, into the darkness, into the fear. And
Well,
your
in
immediate
a feeling way.
No, you're doing it again. Stop. Your immediate response is, and then what? I've had this my whole life. You're justifying and perpetuating all your reasons for not dealing with it, rather than just deal with it. And you'll do that. You'll look at it and you'll look at it and you'll look. It's like when I joined in this meeting at first, and you guys were thinking about it and talking about it, but not actually doing it. That's what you're doing now with your pain. You're thinking about it and talking about it, but not actually doing it. Right. You can see that. Why am I doing that? Because you're crazy.
I don't know what to do with it.
Sit still. Feel it. Go into it. And when you find that you're in touch with it, give it to the Holy Spirit.
Thank you.
Right? It's what we do in our circles, right? When we do our light circle, we find our pain. Jesus says, seek for the blocks and find them. All right. We look inside. We go in there. We find the story of our husband who blamed us and pointed at us and reviled us and made us feel miserable. Right. We find those stories and we sit in those stories until we can feel it. I feel it. It hurts. I feel the pain of that. I'm carrying it with me still. Father, help me. Heal me of this. Heal my mind of this story so I can be relieved of the pain. And you sit there and you wait. You wait for the healing to happen. You don't adjust, which is why you need mind training. Otherwise, your mind's going to be in 1,000 different scenarios in 1,000 different minutes, and you'll be all over the place and you'll have lost focus of your pain again because your ego doesn't really want you to focus on it for too long in case you raise it to question and ask for help. Right? I'm telling you, it's okay to ask for help. That's why I'm here. That's why we're all together in this meeting of mighty companions. That's what we've come together for, finally, to remind each other that we have a higher power that can do all this for us if we let him.
Thank you. I really did feel that. I really felt that.
Right.
I've never thought to ask for help.
No one ever does. I got this, Lord. I'm in charge. Fuck you. Get out of my life. I'll sit here and suffer with my pain a bit longer. But all of that stuff is literally like an anchor. It's like I feel like my life's going nowhere, nothing's happening. Why? Because I'm dragging around these massive anchors of pain and regret and judgment and grievance. I walk down the street and there's like 100 red flags flying out behind me and I can't even see them. Everybody's crossing the street. It's like, there's that crazy woman. Ooh, get out of her way. Don't want to get infected. But you can tell when somebody's carrying anchors and red flags are flying and everything, because they're not happy in general. They're putting on a false face, and you can tell when someone's putting on a false face. They're smiling on the outside, crying on the inside. It's obvious. You know, some people say, oh, I can see straight through you. You know, and it's like, for me, I only have to listen to somebody tell me about anything for about 10 seconds and I know they're full of shit. But it's like, there's my opportunity. There's my opportunity to heal in me again, right? A forgetfulness for seeing the Christ. It's like, hang on a minute. Why would I react at all to figures in a dream that I truly knew I was dreaming? I'll listen to the story, right? Recognize that, hang on a minute, I'm looking for the meaning I've given it by my emotional reaction to it. Right? So somebody says something, I can tell straight away the only reason they're saying something is because they actually want healing, whether they recognize it or not. Right? Someone's talking to me about the weather. They're asking for love. There is no weather. What are they really talking about? They're talking about love. Right? Because God is everything and God is love. It's that simple. My mind hears talk about the weather. They're saying, isn't it a lovely day? The sun's shining, the birds are singing, blah, blah, blah. They're talking about love. It's pissing down rain. All my plans are ruined. They're talking about love. I'm either seeing love or a call for love. Right? Everything is always reminding me to stay awake. Everything is always helping me to perceive my own best interests in any given situation. But because my mind is so batshit crazy all over the place at 1,000 thoughts a minute, it takes a bit of mind training for me to actually step back, slow down, and tune into my purpose. I have to learn what my purpose in life is. It's like because I've forgotten what life is, what life really is, which is unconditional love. I'm so distracted by the figures and the imagery in my dream that I've convinced myself that the body is the reality of my brother and my own thereby, that it takes literally a miracle to bring my mind back to sanity. It's crazy stuff. It really is crazy stuff. You try telling someone who's never heard a spiritual idea in their life before that they're not a body, that they're the spirit and that the world's just an illusion. They're going to look at you like you just fell off the nut house bandwagon. You know? I mean, I remember many, many years ago when I was about 17, I was sharing an apartment with some friends of mine. You know, when you're a teenager, you all move out together and get an apartment. And my apartment overlooked the soccer fields. Across the road, there was like the soccer place where all the kids would run around kicking balls and stuff. And sort of around the soccer field, there was this kind of park with nice big trees and things. And one day we're having a beer, as teenagers do, sitting on our little balcony. Me and Coogee and Kathy are sitting there. And this guy in a white jumpsuit kind of thing, I don't know where he came from. He was just there in the park and he was pulling down his pants like to do a poo by the tree, but no poo was coming out. We were watching him. We were like, what the hell is this guy doing? You know, and he's dressed all in white, like he's escaped from somewhere. He's trying to do a poo behind the tree. No poo's coming out. And then he's pulling up his pants. He's having a good look at it. Like, where's the poo? Like he doesn't understand why there's no poo there. Then he's standing talking to the tree, like, and waving his finger and like putting his hands in the air and all sorts of things. And we started to realize this guy's not the full packet. There's something, you know, we need to get help for him. So we rang the police and the police came and they were incredible. They were very gentle with him and, you know, ushered him into the car and took him back to where he was cared for, I guess. But it went on for a while. I'm looking at him and it's like, that was the craziest thing. I mean, you can turn on the news and you can see people with launching missiles at other people to try and solve their problems. You know, I know how to solve my problem. I'll just blow all those people up. I'll kill them all. That's the end of my problem then. That's insanity, right? But this guy was another level of insanity altogether. He wasn't even engaging in the world as most people understand it. He was talking to trees. He was looking for his own poop on the ground where he was expecting it to be, but there wasn't any. He wasn't even connecting with his body to understand that he actually hadn't done a poop. He was in some other dimensional rift of consciousness that was, you and I couldn't even relate to it. You know, drugs, we would say, as a way of acclimatizing ourselves to what we don't understand. He must be on drugs. You know, but never underestimate the power of mind in denial. It's all crazy. It's not a little bit crazy just on the top where you think you can manage it. It's deep seated and it just goes into all psycho fucking crevices and dark places, right? The loss of control is what you're afraid of. The loss of your capacity to manage your own affairs. That's what you're terrified of losing, right? But literally, the path of the spiritual seeker is to learn to become completely dependent on God for the management of all your affairs, to live a life in faith rather than managing and controlling everything yourself. Right? And in order to get a sense of control, you have these kind of like little modicums of being out of control where you feel threatened and be able to recoil and recover in your own capacity. Someone tells you you're not lovable. Oh, I lose control. I don't know how to handle that. I've got a scar on my heart, but I'm managing. I've got control. It's not great, but I've got it. And that's how you convince yourself that you're in charge, right? Even a little bit. It's when you have no way to recover. It's when you have no way to recover any form of control, like a drug addict that is in the gutter and they're at their very last breath. They can't do it anymore, or an alcoholic, or someone who's just been through hell and back, like to a war, and they're psychologically shattered beyond control. They need help. Right? Now, you're sitting there comfortably in your room telling me you need help. Right? And I'm saying, I'm here representing that help. I'm not the help as such. I'm representing it. All right? The help is within you, but it is within you that you have to go for it. You have to ask.
Okay.
Now,
one of my teachers... I understand what you're saying.
Okay, stop. You don't need to say anything to me. Just listen. Everything you're saying to me or want to say to me is the denial of what I just told you. It doesn't matter what the words are. It doesn't even matter whether you say, thank you, Dave. Right? Go within. Let the Holy Spirit do his work. One of my early teachers, Greta, used to say to me, you got to kneel down on the floor and wear out the carpet with your knees. Like literally, you got to find that prayer for healing in the place where the pain is. And don't adjust until you get there. Don't adjust until you get right to the root of it. There's no point skimming off the surface. There's no point being just conceptual with it and just looking at it from a distance. Get into it. You got to let it affect you. You got to get right down. Yep, exactly. Kaboom. Right? Otherwise, it's just like, you know, if you cut a weed and you just cut it off at the surface, it's just going to regrow. You haven't really pulled out the root. You got to get it by the roots and get it out of there and be done. And then let the earth heal over again and be virgin soil all over again. Right? That's healing. Thank you, Father. Thank you. And that prayer of the heart, really, it should be from gratitude, because God knows what you want before you even ask. But it's literally in your asking that your heart opens, that your mind opens, and that the loving energy of God can flow and do the work that's needed to do in you. But it is already done. It's literally already done. You're living in the resurrection. Jesus already rose from the dead. Right? There is only one mind. This is it. This is literally your resurrection in progress, your ascension happening now. Think of it as if, you know, like you think that you're actually in the world and you've got things to do and dinner to make and all of these sorts of things and a job to go to perhaps and people to see and all of that kind of stuff. All of that is just a giant support network. All of it. It's like really the overseers, the people that are overseeing, or the minds that are overseeing the resurrection and looking at you going, that's all right. We'll give her a little house and we'll try to keep her happy there. And as long as she doesn't do anything too crazy, she'll be right, you know. And then somewhere within that framework, you're sitting there going, I've got a little house and I've got people to see and I've got things to do and blah, 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 blah. But all of it's orchestrated by God, right? You're not out there developing a nuclear bomb. You're sitting at home safely and being told some lovely words that might be helpful and keep you still for a moment so that something else can happen. You know, it's like scientists building a maze for a rat or a mouse, and the mouse has to get to the cheese at the other end, and the scientists are all sitting there watching it going, well, this is our mouse called Anthea and she's pretty good at getting the cheese now. We'll just you know, we'll pop her in at this end, and like there she goes, and whoops, she forgot about forgiveness and she's gone the wrong way, you know. But we'll give her another go. Here she goes again, watch, yep, she's got around that corner, she's getting closer to the cheese. And then, oops, something else distracted her and she forgot about forgiveness, back to the start. And you try again and again and again, right? But you're being watched, you're being monitored. You can't get this wrong. It's impossible. Even if you went and jumped off a cliff, you'd pop back up at the beginning of the maze again because it's in you now. You've heard that there is no world. Something in your mind, your spirit is going to gravitate towards it relentlessly. Right? You hear my words, but your spirit feels the vibration that my words represent. Something in you recognizes the idea of hope and the idea of healing and the idea of, oh, thank God for that. Right? And it's that you are to gravitate towards. That will lead you to the cheese, not trying to understand my words. The words might be helpful for a minute, but only to facilitate the coming of a point where you realize that words aren't really helpful anymore. That the silence is helpful. The place beyond words is where we're trying to get. So let me not become addicted to listening to words, because God has words for me and they're a whole different kind of language. I have to feel them. I have to sense them. The language of love is an essence. It's a vibration. In this world, we experience that as a calling. I feel this calling. I don't know what it is. I've got to pursue this healing path. I've got to pursue this action of forgiveness. I'm looking for redemption. There's no words in that. It's a feeling. You got to tune into it. It feels like a pain in the heart, like someone's put a scar there. I hooked on a feeling. I'm high on believing. I'm in love with you. I'm hooked on a feeling. I'm not hooked on words. I'm hooked on a feeling, da, 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 da. High on believing that I'm in love with you. Get it? Now your turn, you do it. Come on. Ready? Right. A little more gusto would be better, but anyway, you get it, right? It's a feeling. Go into it, feel it. You feel the way.
Don't adjust.
Don't adjust to that feeling. You call it pain. There's a pain in my heart. My husband did something to me. It hurts. No, your husband just made you pay attention to your heart. He did the job you asked him to do. Now pay attention to it, focus on it, listen to it, feel it. Your ego is going to say, don't go there, that's pain. You don't like pain. And you're going to say, I'm not listening to you anymore. You're giving nothing but bad advice. I'm going to do the exact opposite of what you're telling me to do. And I'm going to go into the pain. I'm going to go into the feeling. Why? because I'm hooked on a feeling, da, 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 da. I'm high on believing you're in love with me. Or no, I'm in love with you, all of that. That's why. It's good stuff. Love is a feeling. It's a call that we hear and we listen to it and we feel it and we're drawn to it like moths to a flame. We can't avoid it. Even in our deepest anger and our most resentful grievances, it's still there, calling, calling, calling. Listen, feel, let it call you. Don't be discouraged by the blocks you've put there by calling it fear or calling it terrible place. Don't visit there ever again. It's like there's a hole in the fish tank. We're going back through it. When we get close enough, they're going to open it, reach out and drag us in. But we've got to get within range. We've got to become revelation ready, miracle minded. We've got to do the work. We've got to forgive, let go of the world. It's like, hang on a minute. I thought I was on a journey to death, but actually I'm on a journey to life, to realize that I actually already am what life is. Not this thing flapping about on the floor, having been sucked out of the fish tank, gasping for air. I'm hooked on a feeling. Ba, 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 ba. Got it? Gemma likes that one.
Dude, that's an earworm, that, Dave. I'm going to be singing that for days now.
You will be. I was listening to it the other day, actually, on the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack. It's on there. I just bit the quick off my little pinky and it hurts. I'm telling myself it's pain, but if I listen to it and feel it, what is it? Oh, hang on a minute. It's a call to love. It's a call to laughter, to release, to joy. Oh, thank God. And it goes. You know, I had a very bad accident once when I was a boy. I don't know if it's on this finger. I don't know if you can see it. There's a scar that runs down. You probably can't see it. It's very faint now there. Look, the scar that runs from that knuckle to that knuckle. It's so faint now, especially towards the bottom. But when I was a boy, my mother gave me this old out-of-date calendar because I love to draw. And I could draw on the back of all the pages. I had 12 big pages, like it was a big thing. And it had this metal spine at the top that held all the pages together with a little hole for the nail, you know, to put it on the wall. And I didn't want the metal spine because the pages wouldn't fold over properly. So I tried to tear all the pages off and I went somehow like that. And my finger ran along the thing and I ripped it open. But I knew I'd done something because there was blood dripping on the paper, but it didn't hurt until I looked at it. It didn't hurt until I looked at it. As soon as I looked at it, I started screaming because I made the connection, cause and effect, right? I made the connection. I made it real to myself by my witness to it and gave it a meaning and started to feel it. But it actually had no meaning other than that which I gave it. And until I looked at it and verified it, I didn't feel a thing. Somebody could have taken my hand and just bandaged it up and I wouldn't have even known that there was a cut or a bad cut. That's the same with everything. It's the same with absolutely everything in the world. Until you verify it, until you give it a witness, it doesn't have a meaning. Right? My heart feels pain, but I'm looking for the reason why. Oh yeah, my husband said something, or my partner or my friend said something hurtful, and that's why I feel pain. No, if I hadn't had any of those stories to bear witness to, I would have simply said, my heart feels, and I wouldn't have called it pain. I wouldn't have called it suffering or anything. And I would have just felt it. And I would have sat there and gone, what's this feeling? And I would have listened to it and stayed in it and let it draw me in to the depths. And I would have found the hole in the fish tank and be like, oh, I see you all up there. I'm coming. Lower down a bit of fishing line and I'll hang on. You can pull me back up. Now, the thing that pops in my mind is in the Bible, which I have somewhere here. I have one. I'll just see if I can find it actually. Matthew. I'm hooked on a feeling. I am believing. Here we are. So Matthew 6. Jesus is teaching the disciples and the followers how to pray. All right, so I'll just go back. Matthew 6. Be careful concerning your alms, not to do them in the presence of men, merely that they may see them. Otherwise, you have no reward with your Father in heaven. Therefore, when you give, do not blow a trumpet before you, just as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the marketplaces, so that they may be glorified by men. Truly, I say to you that they have already received their reward. But when you give, let not your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your give may be done secretly, and your Father who sees in secret shall himself reward you openly. And when you pray, do not be like the hypocrites who like to pray standing in the synagogues and at the street corners, so that they may be seen by men. Truly, I say to you, they have already received their reward. But you, when you pray, enter into your inner chamber and lock your door and pray to your Father who is in secret, and your Father who sees in secret, he himself shall reward you openly. And when you pray, do not repeat your words like the pagans, for they think that because of much talking they will be heard. Therefore, do not be like them, for your Father knows what you need before you ask him. Therefore, pray in this manner. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. Let thy will be done, as in heaven, so on earth. Give us bread for our needs from day to day, and forgive us our offences as we have forgiven our offenders. And do not let us enter into temptation, but deliver us from error, because thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever. Amen. For if you forgive men their faults, your Father in heaven will also forgive you. But if you do not forgive men, neither will your Father forgive even your faults. Right, so I wanted to do a healing circle and a thing here, but I want to also kind of loosen the dependency you guys might be developing upon Zoom meetings and things like that, because this is a journey to the interior and it is a personal and individual one. So I'm going to call the meeting to a close, and Anthea, especially for you, I'm going to invite you to look at that whole situation we've been talking about and take it inwards, right? To get in touch with it, because you've been carrying it around for years and it represents something else that you've been carrying around for millennia. It's a symbolic representation of the pain of separation, right? It's the relationship with your Father. It's a good place. But I'm going to invite you to draw your own circle. I'll be with you, not on the Zoom meeting, but I'll be with you in heart and mind, to draw your own circle and just to sit in it and see if you can allow yourself to go deeply into it. All right. And talk to your father about it. And then you can let me know how you went if you want to. Right? This is sacred. This is healing. This is what we're here for. We're not here really for the, I mean, we're here for the giggles and the oh my God, I see now, and we're here for all of that. But at the end of it, we're here to become dependent on God for our healing, not on our own ability to master the understanding of something. That's only required to bring us to the edge. And you're now at the edge. You've reached a precipice. You've reached a threshold. It's time to go within with it. Gemma, are you good?
Yeah.
Yeah, all good. Thanks, Dave. So I was just thinking about something. Yeah, no, yeah, I'm good. All good. I've been hearing just yeah, been with, you know, the I've stopped kind of labeling things. You posted something the other day which was really helpful about, as soon as we got, oh, that's grief, or that's anxiety, or that's whatever, sadness, whatever, depression, or whatever it is, anger, it kind of, you've already missed, there's some kind of, rather than feeling it. So I'm just like, right, I'm not labeling, just really pulling out all those dandelion weeds, roots of that, and just really feeling into whatever it is, even if it's just tiny a little hum of something. I'm just like, okay, just stop and just allow it to, and just see it as energy, like, you know, just like bubbling up, and I might go for a minute and then that's it, but it's just like, right. Yeah, without judgment, you know, without trying to.
Yeah, good. You got to get in touch with it.
Yeah,
it's only the ego wants to call it something and give it a meaning and a name, whatever. It's just energy.
Yeah,
just energy. This pain in my heart is just energy. My ego is always going to want to externally associate it with someone or something, and that'll be the part that I've asked the world to represent. But that's not what it really is. Everything is love.
Yeah, everything's unity, isn't it? Sorry, Anthea.
For those that haven't done the circle thing before, what do you actually, what do you do? Imagine a circle of light around you and pray.
Have you not done it before?
No.
Where'd she go? Oh,
we have.
I'm sure you've done plenty of them in our meetings.
I'm in denial.
I'm sure I remember doing one with you, Anthea.
At least 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5.
You and I'm sure have been on a call together when we've.
Tina's put all these up for you can go back and watch